First and foremost, I want to say rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Thinking about his family, his wife, and his kids, who, from the reports, it looks like they were in attendance when this tragic assassination happened. I don't even know where to start with this. People are talking about the Second Amendment, but the First Amendment and the freedom of speech is a thing here. For somebody to lose their life over their opinions, this is wild. I made a post on Facebook earlier today where I said just that, rest in peace Charlie Kirk, thinking of the family and the kids. Nobody deserves to die over their opinions, and the response was overwhelmingly shocking. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in my community. And that sucks for me to say that, because I'm not here without my online community, and all of y'all have been so helpful and allowing me to build this platform. But when I make a post saying rest in peace, and I see people in the comments, some celebrating the death of a man, the death of a father, the death of a husband, I'm trying to think of what led to us getting to this point. And this is not a political issue. This is not a red versus blue. It's not a Democrat versus Republican. This is just evil versus good. Nobody deserves to die. Whether it's the president and the assassination attempt last year, or Charlie Kirk, or whether it's Biden or Kamala Harris, like, nobody on either side deserves to lose their life. And something happening to anybody, regardless of their political beliefs or their affiliations, or whether they're straight or gay or trans, everybody's life matters. And it looks like we've lost a sense of like we're not objective anymore. There's no sense of rationality. Groupthink is a very dangerous thing. And when somebody puts an opinion out there, because of the way the internet works, and we haven't caught up to the internet and its effect on our brains, but because of the way the internet works, you can type something online and you can let your innocent thoughts be known to the world. And sometimes it's better to keep that to yourself, and to reflect and to pause and to figure out how you actually feel about a certain thing, as opposed to what you think you feel about that said thing. If a democratic, liberal social media figure was murdered the same way that Charlie Kirk was, it would be a tragedy. If somebody on the right loses their life, it's a tragedy. If somebody who is for gay marriage loses their life, it's a tragedy. If somebody who doesn't like gay marriage loses their life, it's a tragedy. This has nothing to do with politics. It's about human life. And our brains have not adjusted to social media and how fast things are spinning. If you look at the definition of narcissism, within that definition, you have a lack of empathy. And I'm not saying that people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death are narcissistic, because you can have narcissistic tendencies and traits without meeting the criteria to be an actual narcissist. But when you struggle to think outside of how things affect just you, those thoughts will lead to a certain sense of selfishness, a lack of empathy, sometimes a lack of regard for people who don't think the same way that you think. Look, I'm an immigrant. Been in this country since, 2000? That's when we came from Norway. Before that, we were in Ghana. I'm from Ghana, West Africa originally. The moment that I got to this country, it was an election year, 2000, Gore versus Bush. And right away, as a young kid, I realized how divided we were as a nation. And in 25 years, a lot hasn't changed. People who believe one thing stay over there, and people who believe another thing stay over there, and that's fine. We all have the right to believe what we believe. And that's the beauty of what this country's supposed to be. But when you get to the point where somebody can lose their life and there's no regard for that. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. It's scary. A little girl's gonna have to walk down the aisle without her father. You have a single mom who's gonna have to raise 2 kids on her own. I don't think anybody deserves to have that, regardless of your beliefs. And this video is not to call out the people who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, because if I'm calling you out, then I'm doing the same thing that y'all are doing by celebrating his death. So it's not a y'all are awful type of thing, because everybody has their own, you have the right to think how you want to think and believe what you want to believe. But we're getting to a dangerous point in society where we have lost empathy, and we're probably past that point, if I'm being honest. But we've lost empathy for people who don't look like us, people who don't think like us, and that's a dangerous thing. That's a dangerous thing. I don't know. I've been numb all day thinking about it. I'm devastated that somebody's lost their father. Makes me want to call my dad. I will call my dad. My dad texted me today, and he was talking about the fact that Ghana won their World Cup qualifying game, and we have one more win to go, and then we'll make the World Cup. If Ghana makes it to the World Cup, which is going to be in the U.S. next year, I'm going to look to take my dad and my brothers to the game. I think this is one of my dad's biggest wishes, and my dad and I haven't been on the best of terms this year, but that's my dad, and I love him. And to lose your father, I mean, that's what this is about. This is about family. This has nothing to do with political beliefs or what somebody has said. Somebody losing their dad and witnessing it in real time is devastating. That's traumatic. In fact, it's traumatic for all of us who watch this video. People don't know that you can develop PTSD from hearing about a traumatic thing or seeing a traumatic thing. You can get secondhand PTSD from it. And it's concerning because you can open up your phone. You can wake up in the morning and open up your phone and see somebody lose their life on the internet. You used to have to dig deep for images and videos like that back in the day. You can open up your phone and witness a woman in Charlotte losing her life on the bus. There is a mental health crisis going on, which is not made any better by the economy and how fast things spread on social media. But I don't know what to say. I'm besides myself. I'm a family person. And at the end of the day, whether you agree with Charlie Kirk or not, the fact that somebody lost their life, that's always a tragedy. So, yeah, to half of my community who celebrated the man losing his life, I'm not angry. I'm deeply disappointed. We are better than that. And normally when you let time, go by, and after enough time has elapsed, cooler heads tend to prevail, and you realize that maybe the things that you said, you didn't mean them. And look, I'm no better. I get impulsive sometimes. I have ADHD, and I'll say things, and I may crash out with family or a loved one, and the next morning I look back and think to myself, damn, I didn't mean all that. I was just tired. I was low on sleep. I was dehydrated. Whatever the case may be. So this is not be able to attack anybody who celebrated the death of a man, but just more so a reminder to just pause and reflect and think about what we're posting before we post it online. The fact that a man left his house today and he's no longer here to take care of his family and his wife and his kids, that's devastating. You know, so I don't really have much else to say, but rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, and I hope we can move towards a world where we can have our opinions and we can live amongst each other without having to agree. You're not going to make any progress if everybody thinks the same way. You have to have some divergent thoughts. And I'm not justifying any thoughts, or this is not an endorsement of the Republican Party or Charlie Kirk. This video is a human video. Somebody lost their life today in broad daylight in a senseless act of gun violence. And that's just not acceptable. That's not acceptable. The attempted assassination of the president last year is not acceptable. If that happened to Kamala or Joe Biden, it's still not acceptable. This is a human issue. And when we detach ourselves from our identities and our beliefs, the beliefs that we have that sometimes are not our beliefs, but we think we believe these things because people, told us to believe them. When we can detach from these beliefs, we realize that at the end of the day, we're all human. And the life is short. And there's an expiration date for all of us. We don't know how much time we have. And with the time that we have, all we can do is make the most of it. Be nice to people. Treat everybody with respect. And look, people are waking up every single day and they're just doing the best that they can. That's why I'm saying if you crash out about this and you left comments you didn't mean, hey, you're forgiven, because we are all just doing the best that we can. But just understand that a man lost his life today, and there's 2 kids who have to go to sleep without their father. And a single mom who has to deal with all of that. So rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, and as far as the rest of us, we can do better. You and I both know it. We can do better. We can be better. Thank you. Good night and God bless.